Let's begin with some breaking news coming in from the United States. While speaking to reporters, US President Donald Trump says Israel has limited capability and capacity to strike and destroy Iran's underground nuclear sites. Once again, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, made a statement and said that Israel has limited capability and capacity to strike and destroy Iran's underground nuclear sites, indicating that only the United States, or with the help of the United States, then Israel can strike the Fordo nuclear facility in Iran, and only if the United States is involved, that's when all nuclear facilities in Iran can be destroyed. But at this moment, the president says Iran lacks the capability and the capacity to strike and even destroy Iran's underground nuclear sites.
Yahoo said that they had the capacity to take out all of Iran's nuclear facilities. So what role would the U.S. be able to play, and why would they, if Israel says that they have all of the abilities, their own military?
I'm not sure he said that, but they really have a very limited capacity. They could break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary. Maybe it won't be necessary.
All right, let's talk to our correspondent, Susan Teherani, who's now joining us on the phone. Susan Teherani, Donald Trump's rhetoric continues to change and shift every moment. We are giving the United States 2 weeks now, as he said, but now he also says that Europe cannot help Iran.
Yeah, Eric, I think his comments regarding Europe may come from the fact that the Europeans have been very open to negotiations for the sake of negotiations. And as you know, as early as 2006, the Europeans have been trying to negotiate with Iran on its nuclear program. Of course, the culmination of that, where the United States was involved as well, was during that 2015 Iran nuclear deal. But then even after that, Europe was eager to continue these discussions because just as a bloc, they believe that a diplomatic solution is possible to Iran's nuclear program. So I think that's where the discussion comes. But he may have a point when he says that ultimately the Iranians don't want to talk to the Europeans. They have to talk to the United States if they want to, first of all, get Israel off their back. And second of all, if there's going to be any kind of lasting solution or a negotiated settlement, or else this is just going to continue. Everything that we're seeing now is just going to continue in various levels, maybe not as bad as now, but in one way or the other, if these negotiations continue just for the sake of negotiations. And I think the Iranians, and of course the Europeans as well, they took this opportunity to get some sort of, talks underway so they can relay the U.S. message and also gauge where Iran stands now with the threats that they're receiving from the United States and how they've been depleted with Israel as well. Has their position changed at all?
Susan, what are Americans saying about Trump's wait or hold and wait policy? Because he said that he will do something after 2 weeks.
Yeah, there was a New York Times report that said, Trump always uses the 2-week timeline for anything. But I think most Americans, first of all, they're concerned. They don't want boots on the ground in Iran. Many of them are relieved even that there is this window. But others say that we cannot take President Trump's word at face value because he's even admitted that. And perhaps, this 2 weeks may not be a deadline, but just a period to see what the United States does during this time. I know President Trump sort of alluded to the fact that, he's giving Iran some chances and giving these negotiations with the Europeans some space. But ultimately, I think everyone, as we talk, me and you always talk about as well, here it's the same sentiment. They're saying that Trump just is not showing his cards.
All right. Susan Teherani is our correspondent in New York. Susan, thank you. Let's just play up what President Trump said moments ago.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said that they had the capacity to take out all of Iran's nuclear facilities. So what role would the U.S. be able to play, and why would they, if Israel says that they have all of the abilities, their own military?
I'm not sure he said that, but they really have a very limited capacity. They could break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and We'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary. Maybe it won't be necessary.
All right, Mr. Edward P. Joseph is a lecturer at the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies and foreign policy analyst, is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Joseph, it's good to see you. Let's begin with what Donald Trump is saying right now. He says that Israel doesn't have the capacity or the capability to strike deep inside Iran's nuclear facilities.
Yes, Eric, I think this is actually a continuation. We don't see a shift here by President Trump. We see a continuation of him trying to exploit the uncertainty around his decision. President Trump understands that he holds the ultimate card here. He is the one in possession of this one piece of ordnance, this massive bunker-busting bomb that can only be carried by the U.S. aircraft, a B-2 bomber. And he's aware that he holds that, and he likes that. And he actually enjoys being the center of all this attention and speculation. Will Trump drop the bomb? Will he not? At the same time, we see Trump, as he's done consistently after the initial success of the Israeli operation in Iran. At first, the U.S. Distanced itself. Secretary of State Rubio made those statements. But following the astonishing success that the Israelis have had from the first days here with this surprise attack, all of a sudden Trump has moved into a different type of messaging. And he's continuing with that. He's continuing to make it clear and signal to the Iranians that, yes, he is prepared to intervene. He signals that he is, and yet he does open the door for negotiations. And we heard that at the end. He made that very clear. That was no accident. He said at the end there, of course, it may not be necessary. And so I see this as a continuation of the same messaging to Tehran's leaders that they should be, in fact, quite concerned and take quite seriously the possibility that President Trump will intervene, but they can still avoid it depending on their actions. Please.
Mr. Joseph, I'm still wondering why Donald Trump gave the world 2 weeks to wait until he makes a decision on Iran. But before you answer that, this is another breaking news coming in at this hour, and we do understand that Israeli defense forces say they have carried out fresh strikes in western Iran. These visuals on your screen at this moment indicate the operations shared by Israeli defense forces. Israeli Air Force says it has shot down more than 15 drones launched from Iran at Israel. Israel says drones were shot down by fighter jets, helicopters, as well as ground-based systems. Once again, this is breaking news coming in from Israel, and we do understand that the warfare is still going on as we speak. And according to Israel, they say that the operations shared by Israeli Defense Forces indicate Israeli Air Force shooting down more than 15 drones launched from Iran at Israel. And Israel says drones were shot down by fighter jets, helicopters, as well as ground-based systems. And this is a continuation, like Mr. Joseph did say, of this war between Iran and Israel. Mr. Joseph, going back to you, and this question that I asked, why is Donald Trump giving the world time, and especially 2 weeks?
Eric, it's a very interesting question. And I'll give you my answer on this, is that while Donald Trump enjoys being the center of this, all this attention and speculation, will he drop the bomb? Will he intervene in this war, or will he stay out? At the same time, this decision is irrevocable. Once he gives the order to those planes, and once they drop that ordnance on Fordo, that nuclear enrichment facility that lies so deep in the mountain in northwest Iran, where, according to the IAEA, Eric, the IAEA has detected enrichment up to in the 80% range, very close to the 90% range needed for a nuclear weapon. So once Donald Trump gives that order and those planes drop that ordinance, that's it. There's no going back on that decision. And you see, Eric, that's different from other types of decisions that Trump makes. For example, on tariffs. He can come and say it's Liberation Day and all of a sudden impose these 150% tariffs on countries, and he can reverse himself. You cannot reverse a decision to drop a massive piece of ordinance like that on Fordo. And so what Trump has done with the 2 weeks, to answer your question, is he's given himself time. He's given also the Israelis time, because as you correctly indicated, and your reporting indicated, the Israelis have said, look, we have our own options. So giving 2 weeks takes the immediate question away from Trump of having to make some decision immediately, or being called out as we say here, taco. Trump always chickens out. He buys himself time for this decision, and he also gives the Israelis time to explore whatever options they may have to disable the Fordo facility. Please.
Mr. Joseph, I know we have to wrap this up, but very quickly, I want your thoughts on this. Europe or Iran had reached out to Europe for negotiations. Europe says that it wants America to be engaged in their talks, but now Trump says that Europe cannot help. Your quick reaction to that?
Yes, I think that there's no problem, there's no complication with the Europeans opening the conversation. They, by the way, have presented fairly tough terms, reportedly have told Iran no more enrichment whatsoever, which of course Iran demands. And I would finally point out, Eric, that at the G7, where you had France and Germany, the United Kingdom, all there, they all signed on to this very tough statement on Iran that was essentially support for Israel's actions. And finally, the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, whose country is participating in those talks, Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, stated, quote, Israel is doing the dirty work for all of us. Israel has the courage to take this operation and take this threat that Iran poses for all of us. So essentially, the G7 and the United States are fairly close on their positioning. Please.
Mr. Joseph, we'll have to end it there. Good to see you. Thank you for talking to us today.
You're welcome.